Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Unstoppable Overcomers. And I'm your host, Dorothy Odell, for this evening. I would really like to give a shout out to tonight's sponsor. Uh, the first sponsor tonight is Be Oily with Bonnie. For all your doTERRA oil needs, give Bonnie a call at 519 or sorry, 810-414-0929 or go to www.beoilywithbonnie.com. Okay, I'm laughing because my good friend Trevor showed up for me at the ninth hour here.
I lost sound.
Oh, you lost sound? How about this one? Okay, well, while Trevor's getting
Good.
sound, oh, you got it?
I think we're good now. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh goodness, yes I can. I'm so sorry. I got a little
Yeah.
sidetracked ahead of it. But hey Dorothy, happy Monday. How's it going?
Happy Monday. You know what, friend? I'm happy that you showed up. Uh, our original guest tonight got sick and was not able to join us, and so I
Okay.
thought, the candid coffee conversations that we had a couple weeks ago went really well. So I
Hmm.
thought, let's pivot and let's do it again tonight. So I'm not sure what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
Did you? Are you bringing more friends on with you?
I haven't heard from them.
Oh, you
Oh
haven't.
yeah, and no, the truth is no. I have been totally sidetracked by trying to catch up on some other stuff. So
That's okay.
totally got lost because Bree was off last week. My co-founder, who you know
Mhm.
well, also, she was off last week with a whole bunch of things on her plate. So we were just playing catch up a little bit today. So I apologize. I was a little
That's okay.
overwhelmed. I got your text, and I'm like, oh yeah, that'd be great. We're live right now, right?
We're live. Yeah, we're actually
I just
live.
jumped straight in. I've been working in the garden for like a couple hours because it's nice out today. So I usually take my breaks in the middle of the day, and then
Right.
I just get up earlier. So I'm sweaty, but it's great to see you.
It's great to see you. And for those of you that are joining us, let us know where you're tuning in from. We would love to hear from you. And what is it that what's the hot topic that everybody's talking about nowadays? Anybody have any questions out there? We're here for coffee. I drink my bubbly. Coffee right now for me is not great. I'm on the East Coast. Our friend Trevor's on the Pacific Coast, so he's drinking coffee. He's out there in
Nar
California,
nar.
living the dream out there. So my friend, what exciting things have you got going on in the world of what you're up to?
Well, let me get this a little closer and not make it squeak. Because I've been told my mics are not great, my headphones aren't great, my webcams aren't great. So I've been limping by mechanically lately. So if anybody has any recommendations in the audience about good mics to look at, I like portability. That's probably like the most important thing to me. And I don't like this. It is way too much of a pain. I
Mhm.
can deal with it. It's gotta be good for outdoor because I do a lot of work outside. It's my preferred place to be.
There you
So
go.
if anybody has any recommendations, because that's what I'm doing today, and that's what I do once a week is just get my weekly studio set up in the garden, and it's
Ah,
my favorite thing to do.
really?
Yeah, do you want to see it? I think I can pull up
Yeah,
another cam view.
yeah. If you
I
could show us, that would be great. If not, oh
boom
well, look at that. And so you do
boom.
your shows out there, right?
I haven't been lately. I've been doing them from here in the shed because I've been having a lot of technical problems with my laptop. So I mentioned the mic, mentioned the webcam, which have been holding strong today. Very proud of my Logitech camera today. It's holding out. But my Asus computer, and I love my Asus, but my screen is not coming up. So I can only get my laptop visual via a second screen,
Ah,
which means it's not very portable anymore.
right.
It's it's basically a desktop right now. So I need to get that repaired. And then I can get back out to the garden because I really kind of need the mobile setup out there to have I usually put the camera kind of where it is now. I set
Mhm.
up a couple more cameras in the garden, and then I have my computer and the screens. It depends on how much work I'm doing out there, but I
Right.
kind of set it up out there. Yeah.
That's awesome. So if you're just tuning in for the first time, tonight we're just
Yeah.
simply having conversations about anything that you want to talk about. Let us know where you're tuning in from. That would be great in the comments. And just really, um, if you have any questions on anything, we're here to support you. We'd love to hear from you. So in the comments, write anything that you would love us to talk about. Because, Trevor and I combined here have over 5 years of experience in all things podcasting, live streaming, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, we're here for you. And
Yeah, I would say podcast is my second. It's a second or third language. I love podcasts, but it's not my entire soul. Obviously, it's not yours either. Where do you? Can I ask a question to you in the crowd?
sure.
Where does podcast fit into your mix? And do you look at your media as part of your revenue stream, or do you look at it as part of your marketing stream? Because I tend to look at it as marketing, but I find a lot of folks that I talk with in like the newer business world, they're focused on using their media channel as their primary source of revenue. And in a lot
That
of cases, as an independent creator, that is a pretty big uphill battle with the level of entertainment competition. So
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I would have to say that it's for marketing purposes. However, Trevor will come back, I'm sure. He'll be back. There you are. I use it for marketing purposes, but I am monetizing and I'm in the process of um obviously I'm great at interviewing. That's my passion. I love interviewing people. So I am working on a project. So if you are a business owner and being interviewed is something that you love, then let me know, because I've got some new things hitting the screen this week.
mm.
So yeah,
Are
I
you
do.
gonna tell us, or are you just gonna tease us like that? That's rude. I'm having so many camera issues all of a sudden, by the way, so I'm gonna try to fix those. But what are you trying to tease us about?
Well, because I'm seeing what people need. A lot of okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of business owners know that video is important. They know that being seen is something that is needed, right? And yet a lot of people are afraid in front of getting in the camera, afraid of getting in front of the camera, right? And then they get in front of the camera and then they have no idea what to say. If you've been to our YouTube channel, Unstoppable Overcomers, you see that there's over 400 and some odd videos over there, of which half of them are my shorts. Meaning, for the last 3 years, I've just been, God gives me something on my mind. I go and talk about it. And it's usually a 9 times out of 10 something that somebody needs to hear that day. And a lot of business owners don't like talking about themselves, they have no idea what to say. And so I'm here to help those business owners that are shy in front of being in the camera and helping them get the content they need to put out there for social media is what I am working on. So if you are one of those business owners that hates doing video, but no, you need to get your business out there, then message me. I would love to talk with you. Carrie says she's one of those people. She was one of those people. See? And Carrie was actually on my show a couple weeks ago. So definitely go to our YouTube channel and go check that out, because I know that that episode was a really good one as well. And so Trevor's back. Did
I
that
could
answer
hear
your
you.
question?
It did. Yeah, I apologize. I could hear you,
That's
but
okay.
my camera was. It just is what it
It just
is.
is.
Yeah. No, I got you. I'm picking up what you're laying down. That's an interesting approach. I think. Are you down for a little feedback, a little
I'm down
brainstorming?
for, yeah, sure. Let's do it.
So I would say out of the gate, be cognizant of the actual like stats around that presumption, and like maybe do a little market research first, because if your target market is local people but your primary data source is LinkedIn, then I think you may have some like some indicators that are not meshing. and that you would want to be careful with. So I guess one of my questions along those lines would be, are you targeting local people to you, local to your industry that you serve, or like what is your, I guess, what's your target for that service when you talk about business? Because there's a lot of business.
Right. Yeah. And well, and I do the Power Half Hour show, the Unstoppable Business Owner, right? So my my field is the entire world. I've pretty much, every business out there. Although there's a lot of coaches lately, like coaching is
Right.
gone
Well,
off
let's,
the charts.
it really has. Let me try to narrow it down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
If Johnson and Johnson came up to you,
Mm-hmm.
like the, you know who I'm talking about,
Oh
are
yeah.
you down to serve Johnson and Johnson? Is that like a contract that you'd be stoked to take on, or would you be like, nah, I think you probably should call some maybe higher end experts and I could get you in touch with them, but like I don't know if I'm ready for that. Like where on the scale are you, do you feel? Do you feel like you're ready for
I
Johnson and Johnson?
Let's say the small business
Okay.
owner that is, um, you know, that really wants to be seen but is afraid to go after it. Johnson Johnson, hey, if Johnson Johnson called and said, "Hey, I want to be on your show," there's no way I would say no. However,
Well, on your show, yeah, but in terms of paying for a service,
yeah, no, the small business owner, I think that that would be the perfect person that doesn't have time to sit there and do everything and wear
but
all the
AI,
hats.
you know,
Yeah,
AI.
yeah, well, AI, but yeah,
It's an interesting, there's just so much going on right now in media. So I would say keep doing your research because the media world is very deep. Um, and it's housed with people in YouTube that have been doing it for, sorry for the noise, have been doing it for like 10, 15 years. Like I have a cousin that does video. I don't know that she edits for people. So are you saying that you would edit for people or just give them guidance?
no, we have a team that could do that.
Okay. What's the turnaround time on a 15-minute video ish, do you think?
Ish. I
Like
would
if
have to
my
check with my people, but probably I don't know, a couple days. I would have to, like I said, this is all beta, and I'm getting
yeah,
my team together. So yeah.
all right. That's going to be pretty wild.
Hmm.
Um, who's the first person you're going to call to ask for business? Do you have an idea?
I'm working on that list right now. Yeah.
Do you want to, let's brainstorm a list?
We're really doing this on live, aren't we? This is crazy. But yeah, let's
Well, I
brainstorm.
mean, let's do it.
Well,
You're
let's
in
do
my
it.
world, and I know factually speaking that
Hmm.
you are. I don't know what the likelihood is by percentage, but the likelihood that we'll carry through if we've told potentially a million people is significantly higher than if we just say it in private. That's what I love about live is trying to find the balance to like make bets with each other because when we're in like the industries that we serve, I think when we can make bets, it really does serve each other a little bit because we're serving you. I'm serving you, but I also want you to like volley back because I think that makes us both better at what we do if we can
Got it.
find the right balance. And I think that it's just super fun to invent business
And
ideas in
I'm
public
usually not the
because
one put on the spot on my own show, but we'll go with it for tonight. How's that?
oh well, you can flip it on me. Hit me. Let's flip it to me, and then we can rotate back and forth. You want to do it? Since hosts be hosting,
Host be hosting? I love that.
hosts be.
Host
So
be
you hit
hosting.
me. Hit me with a question.
Hit you with a question?
Everybody throw. So I'm a media. For anybody that doesn't know me, my name is Trevor. I co-founded a media company with Brie Campano. She's a badass. Can I curse?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, cool. I'll try to keep it at a minimum, but she's a badass. And I do that with her. We develop creators where we work alongside them to develop ideally just a lot of output. Like I think that's pretty much what we focus on is not necessarily overthinking it, not necessarily over editing it, not necessarily like we do things like that as we get better at them and as we have time, but we focus first and foremost on creation, or at least try to. And then on top of that, we focus on serving everybody that we create with very well. And we do a lot of collaboration work. We really thrive on not having competitors because we just try not to position ourselves that way. So we're a new media company and we just don't want to piss everybody off. We just want to contribute. We have a streaming app that's pretty cool.
Carrie wants
hit
to
us
know
in the
what you mean by output.
Oh, what you mean? Oh, when I say output, I would say creative output or creator output. So for me, I have a lot of creative output. Like it's just where I have fun. The garden is creative output for me. I write a lot of business planning. I write a lot of programmatic planning. I write out coursework all the time. Like my head is in so many different areas. So when I'm talking about creative output, that's what I'm talking about is like whatever your contribution is to what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Are you a hands-on creator?
Hands-on, what do you mean?
Like,
Give
do
me an
you create
example.
stuff? So like for me, the garden, I love to be in the garden and stick my hands in dirt. Like I've told you that I grew up on a farm. So dirt under my fingernails truly makes me feel better. Like if I have to use a toothbrush to get dirt out from under my nails, I feel good. That's a creative outlet for me. And it also is like the most meditative thing ever. And it's almost replaced counseling for me. We're
Oh
almost
shit, that's good.
It's amazing. I love it. But do you have like a tangible output? And that would be a question for Carrie too. Is what is the thing that you produce with your hand that balances the thing you produce with your brain?
Oh, that's a good one. So I'm also maybe like a four-time author now. So I am creative in the writing process. So I love, and actually, it's funny because I haven't written anything in a while. So that's really maybe why. Um, See, Carrie says that's how she feels about writing. Um, and I do have a blog, and it's been a little bit since I wrote in that as well, because most of my time is focused on my shows, right? And so creating content for my shows, getting people, to know about them, uh, sending people to the different outlets that we do have because we don't just do it live. We also have our podcast and we also are on Roku. So getting and then when you have two different shows, you're also pre-interviewing people to come onto the show. And so I'm a one woman show at the moment, getting a team together to help facilitate all that. So I love being creative in the fact of like writing and things like that. As for hands, I like working outside, but I don't know. Does that answer?
Yeah.
Carrie
I mean, there's not a
Carrie
I have
dedicated
dedicated.
time for writing.
Yeah,
Aha.
that's the only way to do it, and it's gotta. For me, I've been very dumb to do it the way I've done it. Like I've approached my life very different in the past year in terms of how I work with myself. Being
Oh,
diagnosed with
nice.
ADHD like a year and a half ago, and I had to relearn how to do everything in my life at the same time that I was also transitioning into being an entrepreneur for the first time. So as I journeyed down that ADHD pathway and getting treatment for it, I definitely wrote some checks that I couldn't cash, is how I like to put it, because Adderall made me very brave. so so after I came down with not having Adderall anymore and transitioning to some other more sustainable options, it was like, oh man, I created a monster. And I often, and I want to give you a chance to hit me with something. What do you want to know about what I do? Because I think a lot of people have probably no idea.
Well, when you say you help people be content creators, like what do you mean by that? Like, do you help them start like a show? Do you help what do you help them with? Like, yeah.
So I mean, probably the best way to say that is to give a couple examples, if that's okay. So one would
Yeah.
be Venus. Venus is somebody we constantly push. If you type in "who is Venus," I'll put it in the chat. Who is V3NUS? She has like a V3 thing going on.
Mm.
Uh, Venus is amazing. We found her early in her like kind of launching into the music industry, and now
Mhm.
she's trying to transition from being a full-time teacher to a full-time musician, which is huge, you know, because she's basically has not made money from music until now when she's transitioning. So she's got a lot of confidence, and it's paying off because she's getting picked up and she's getting noticed, and we're doing exciting things with her and having these great brainstorming sessions, and we help execute some things. It's tough because all new creators are broke like we are, you know what I mean, like so people don't have a ton of money, so you do have to find some balance. Thank you. You have to find some balance with everybody you work with, but with Venus, it's we try to give it everything we can, whether it's graphics or setting her up interviews. We hosted two pre-launch events before her last song released. So she has a new song called Moscato, like the wine, and
Mm.
it's a
It's a
really
good
cool
wine too.
tune. Yeah, and it's like a really light and fluffy June, July kind of song. It comes out at a good time. So that worked out, and so she's been promoting the heck out of the Moscato thing. We've been making brand partners with, like, she really inspired this, so I want to give credit where it's due, but partnering her song release with a winery or with a coffee
Ooh,
brand or with something that had some sort of connection to the song title, so it was an
right.
easy match. So the song's got nothing, it's got very little to do with wine, it's got to do with love and stuff like that. Um, but it's
That's
a very
interesting.
approachable song. So, and like I said, she did a couple pre-launch events. She had her friends over, and they talked about love. Like, it was this table of, I think it was about 8 of her friends, like close friends, and this was like a us brainstorm moment. Like, we had
Mhm.
this great conversation, and out popped this idea of having her friends all over. And I don't remember who came up with it, but it was like this brilliant moment because she was immediately excited. And when you see a creator who's that excited about something, you know that it's going to be an easy lift on my part, which is great.
Mhm.
Because as a facilitator of that creative output, which is what I kind of consider my role, is helping people take it from idea to reality in some fashion, and just
Right.
taking it forward. Like, we don't always need to have a million downloads. We just need to take it forward. So to get somebody to that moment is really fun, and that's really what we focus on. But it is different for a lot of people. A lot of it starts out with like podcast. People want to start with a podcast type of show. Like, this is a comfortable, easy setting. Most people
Mhm.
don't want to have second and third cameras and fancy mics, and that's why I play around with so many different looks, because I want to make it more accessible to regular creators. Like, that's a backup cracked cell phone that I
Mhm.
switched the camera to before, and it's just like utilizing cheap tools to try to get more creatively like good output. So that's what I try to do, is really push myself and push the people around me to just be more creative and get it done. Like, don't make decisions and execute those decisions, and if you have to adjust because they're so good and you want to make them better, then do it. And if not, then you just keep going. It's the only upside of being an entrepreneur is having complete control over the decisions you make. It's
Absolutely.
so empowering.
Absolutely. So if you're just tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from for sure. We would love to hear from you. And any questions you may have about, creative content or anything like that, or anything to do with podcasting, because it sounds like that's where we're going tonight. So yeah. So if you have any questions regarding that, then let us know, because Trevor is like an amazing creator, and he, as you can see, he loves his garden out there. And what I'm gonna do, since Trevor is off camera, I'm gonna go to our second sponsor for tonight's show, and it is sponsored by the Left Foot Coach, an innovative entrepreneurial venture partner capital that will take your income and self-expression to the next level. With established five pillar methodology, the Left Foot Coach can help you build a solid foundation for success and expand to your full potential. As a venture growth coach, the Left Foot Coach is dedicated to partnering with you and your established business to help you grow your income and achieve your goals. Whether you're an entrepreneur or a professional looking to take your career to the next level, the Left Foot Coach can help you provide with the support, guidance, and resources you need to succeed. If you're ready to unlock your full potential and achieve your dreams, then schedule a free 30-minute inquiry call today. Trust me, as a client who's experienced his growth interventions already, you won't regret it. And I'm going to put Christian's information in the chat for that free 30-minute consultation. And so, yeah, we'll bring Trevor back here.
Nice. I was gonna try to go off to the other camera, but it
Oh,
kind of shut down in the interim since I had looked last. My apologies. I was gonna try to be fancy, and I had my headphones were gonna be my microphone, and I was gonna go do my thing. But I want to share something and get your opinion on it, and then toss it
all
back
right.
to you to grill me. I want to get a heater from you. I want you to toss your heaters to me tonight.
All
And
right.
whatever time we have. I like the power hour vibes where you just throw heaters. But I have been trying to integrate legs into my video more.
Okay.
And I don't mean in like a I'm wearing short skirts kind of way. I just
Right.
mean in the sense that you can see that I have more body than just here up or here up.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just been experimenting because I do follow Jimmy Donaldson the Beast a lot. So I try to listen to his advice for like with the hope that someday he'll quiz me. Like, Trevor, what have you learned from me? Otherwise, I won't work with you. Like, I just want to collab with Mr. Beast, just once. That's all it would take.
I was gonna say, how
Uh,
did your meeting go? Or
with
can you
what?
talk about it on air, Mr.
What
Beast?
meeting? Oh, so we don't work directly with his people. We work in groups with his people. So we joined this organization called well, to be honest, I don't remember what it's called. They just changed the name to make it official, but it's a 501c3 dedicated to getting more, I guess, worker rights for creators like ourselves.
Oh,
So, and creating like different ways to have insurance and collective bargaining and different things like that, kind of like the SAG, what the writers were doing there for Hollywood, but for
right.
creators, for regular people like us more so. Um, so I joined this group, and it just so happened that it was a group that managed a lot of Mr. Beast's content. And of course, like you can't see his content, understand his story, understand his impact on the industry that is media,
Mm-hmm.
and then also not want to try to be more in their world. So as soon as I saw that, I had already been trying to find reasons to work with them. I DM'd his hiring manager just to
Mm-hmm.
say hi. It must be so cool to work for Jimmy. Like, would you ever want to be on a podcast with me or collab with me? And I asked this, I'm telling you, Dorothy, in like the first 4 months that we even had a media company. And she responded, and it was like, I would love to talk to you, but I don't know what we would collab on right now. And I was like, that's fair. So I let it be for then. But I was like, if I can get that close to a guy like that, like there is really some barriers that are artificial if you're genuine. But you do have to be genuine. You do have to work your butt off to impress someone like that and to have
Mm-hmm.
perspectives that are bold and to say things that are scary in front of other people. Like this is a very scary thing that I do these days.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, but yeah, we've gotten really close. I think that there's a very, very good chance that at some point that we will get to meet someone from his team. Like, I don't know if it'll be him, but I feel very confident. We've had DMs with multiple of his staff, just like friendly, low key exchanges. I tag them and stuff all the time because that's what they do, So
Mm-hmm.
I want to be stereotypical in that way.
Right.
Um, but yeah, the Mr. Beast thing is definitely an example of holding out for the right opportunity, because a person like that doesn't want to sell out, and it's really hard when you're a new entrepreneur to not sell out.
Yes. And, I get that. And, I love the fact that you just went for it, because I think a lot of us get so wrapped up in our heads and refuse to go for the big thing. And I had a veteran series that I did, and I was approaching executive producers of Discovery. Like I did a pitch deck, I did all of that, and I had it ready. And I actually had an executive producer that owns a media company in Texas say that he would not Texas, Florida, I mean, and he was going to bring my pitch to out to LA. They were pitching there because they had a bunch of movies that they were pitching themselves. And he says, "Give me your pitch, and I'll pitch it with mine." And no, I haven't heard back from him since. But he said he was going to pitch it alongside his. So, because if
Yeah.
if he got talking with somebody and said, "Okay, well, I don't like this or this," but then he could just slide mine in, right? If that would
Hmm.
benefit, right? So I think being in and talking to different people like that, you never know where it's going to go, and it might not go anywhere right away. But I love the fact that you took the initiative and went for Mr. Beast. That's awesome. And Carrie says she likes the idea of showing all of you instead of chest up.
Yeah, I do, like, right now I have to do this and I kind of don't want to, but I've also been doing a ton of administrative and graphics and stuff where you just have to be sitting down. But as I transition next month, like in the coming days and weeks, I will be doing a lot more of this. And
Mhm.
so I am dead set on getting set up outside permanently. Um, and it's for that reason. It's because that's, what would Jimmy do? And Jimmy would say, do the thing that you're passionate about first and foremost, do it your way, but also do it better. You have to do it better than other people. You have to push yourself to make it better every time. You got to have a better camera angle. You got to have a more clear audio. You got to have a more appealing looking setup. Like you got to have all the, like, I hear not just him, but like entrepreneurs that have been in my life before about trying to get all the stupid little stuff so
Mhm.
that when you do have that chance, you're ready to set up in the best possible format.
Mhm.
Um, just like the biggest tip I could ever give a creator is always be ready to create. So annoying, but it's just the truth. Do you do a
That's
whole
true.
lot of like on the fly stuff, or do you do mostly sit down stuff? Like, do you do a lot of standing or at all?
I okay, so I do a lot of walking videos. So I think best when I'm walking,
Yes, I know this
and
now. You remind me.
I do that. And I know a lot of my veterans can't stand that because of the motion sickness and stuff like that. But a lot of my people will, like, if they haven't seen one of my walking videos, will say to me, "Hey, what's going on? Like, are you okay?" Um, and I haven't actually done a lot of them lately because I've been so focusing on other stuff. But like, and I wait till I have something good to say. Like, instead of just opening my mouth and letting shit fly out, I make sure that it's positive, number one, and number two, something that people want to hear or that can relate to.
Yeah, no doubt. Um, on that note, since I don't really know, like I tune in when I can. The truth is, I make so much content myself, and I do so much business development when I'm not on screen. Like in these early stages, is there's a very limited scope that I take in during like really stressful periods. And when I'm trying to be very creative, I listen to the same songs every day. I do the same routine at almost the exact same time on repeat because I know I need to give all my energy to someone like you when I meet up with you. How do you break that energy up with where you are in your business, and how are you like trying to get to the next part of it? Like, how are you trying to leapfrog? I want to trade stories. Is that okay? So I would like to exchange stories
Well,
about what we're trying to do. So I want to hear
yeah,
yours, and then we'll just flip it back because I think it'd be cool to compare notes on how we're
sure.
hoping to scale ourselves.
Right. So to keep my energy, okay, so I also have a full-time job on top of all that I do. So that does up a lot of my energy. And so I have very limited hours to work with within the week, right? Outside of my 9 to 5. So I get up, well, generally at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I have my meditation time and I have my gratitude, because I think that's important. And I'm also right now in taking this year. I'm also doing a Course in Miracles. So I read my lesson for the day, my meditation, and things like that, and do some affirmations because I need to keep this right. And I noticed that if I don't do my daily routine, then if I get too much into my head, it's no good for anybody. And I'm like a hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Uh, and oh, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing. Just
Um,
second that 100%.
yeah. And so if I get in my head, I know I'm in trouble. And if there are days that I can't help it, so I do have my tribe around me that if I get into that mode, I call one of them immediately and I say, "Hey, do you have like 10, 15 minutes to clear me?" Because I need that. If I get to a certain point, I need to talk it out and I need to talk with somebody, um, like right away. Or if no one's available, okay, so this may be stupid, but I don't care. TikTok videos have gotten me out of more funks than anything. And what I mean by that, like I like the dancing ones. I don't know. I don't know what this new sensation with this Rifle or whatever his name is. He's a new comedian. Well, new apparently. And everybody was just like, "Who is this Matt guy? I've never heard of him." So went on to TikTok. 14 million followers. This guy has 14 million followers. This guy is like, I spent I spent, oh my gosh, like an hour the other day just listening to one video after the other. I was laughing my ass off so bad that I thought for sure somebody was going to hear me. But that's what I had to do. So if I'm in that kind of a funk, and of course you got to keep your energy up because being an entrepreneur is like you just got to do it. You're like your one man show. And I will stop at nothing to make sure that my energy is high. So yeah, watching stupid funny videos is what really gets me into the mood, and listening to music like, oh, Survivor's Eye of the Tiger.
Talk about it. Talk about
Woo!
it.
Woo! Like if I really, yeah, if I know that I need to get my energy up, it's Eye of the Tiger all the way. Thank you, Survivor, for doing that song. And yeah, so that's what I do to keep me in my downtime when I'm just going to the next thing, not in my creative or not talking to clients or things like that. That's what I do. And audiobooks. Oh my gosh. Okay, so highly, highly, highly recommend, especially if you're a female. Guys, you might get something out of this, but this is mostly for women. We Should All Be Millionaires by, what is her name here? Rachel Rogers. It is a must in your audiobooks. Has to be. Like, seriously. She is, well, if you don't want to be a millionaire, then that's fine. Don't listen to it. But if you really want to be a millionaire, you got to listen to that book. So, yeah.
I just dropped that in chat so you can throw that
Oh,
in the public comments because I
oh,
can't.
thank
So
you.
I wanted to give a little shout out to the people.
There we go.
It
This is
sounds
from
cool.
Trevor.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I probably should have labeled it. My bad. But that's to the link to the folks you were talking about that
Yeah.
we should all be millionaires or whatnot. So that's
Yeah.
great. I'm glad to see that there's like some really, it looks like really deep and good content out there. What is "Don't Bring Me Down" by ELO? Is that a song?
That I think that's Carrie's song that she listens to when
Okay, I gotta check it out then. So
she says
I'll
she's got
play.
to laugh.
Yeah, no
Yes.
doubt.
And it's funny because and this is something that I never thought of. My business partner what does she listen? I think it's comedy. I don't know who she listens to, but this is something that I just learned about recently from her. That yeah, or she'll watch some kind of movie or something, inspirational movie in the middle of
I
the day.
Oh, in the middle. I have done that in the past. I don't as much in the current iteration of who I am. There's also not much content that I want to watch that I haven't watched currently.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't. I watch a lot of cartoons, honestly. A lot of funny cartoons, like Rick and Morty is probably my favorite right now. I've
Mhm.
watched the whole series probably 3 or 4 times. Um, not necessarily because it's funny, although it gets funnier as it ages on you because you expect the punchlines and then they do it. You're like, oh yeah. But I like the mind expansion that Rick and Morty forces me to have because do you know the show Rick and Morty,
No.
Dorothy?
No,
Okay,
I
Rick and
don't.
Morty is written by a guy named Dan Harmon, who wrote a couple of shows prior, and he's had very culty success. But he's seems like a really smart, cool guy. He's like bearded, looks like your typical creative. But they have the whole premise of the show, or the main premise of the show, I guess the vehicle of the message in the show is a laser, is like a laser gun kind of thing that
Right,
shoots a teleporting like black hole. So
right.
it's a, you can teleport through time and space, all of the above. So, and it can go different universes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's no limitations on where this little, looks like a taser, this little taser can take you.
Hmm.
And so if you take a little taser and imagine you're a cartoon, so you no longer have the physical boundaries that we have, you just have your voice and your mind, and you
Hmm.
have this little taser, and you shoot the taser at a wall, and it can take you to any time in space, history, universes that you think exist and maybe don't, universes that are only in your mind, to your favorite cartoon from when you were a kid, wherever you want, it can take you there. And so the creative opportunity is, in my opinion, limitless. And
Hmm.
it, when I realized that, it totally changed my concept of what can be accomplished on any screen through media, but most specifically when you can force people to detach from the character just enough, you know, because they look like people in the show, but they're kind of angly and they have weird colored skin. There's like enough to distinguish that it's a cartoon, kind of like South Park. They do that by making them kids. They make you disassociate from, like, if it was an adult that said some of the stuff, and if the animation was not so trashy, you'd be so offended by that show.
Hmm.
But instead, we laugh at it.
Well, and that's the thing. Okay, so here's my big thing. The reason why I started my podcast was A, to give people a platform, that everyday people to have a platform to share their story, right? In
Hmm.
some instances, things can be very lonely. You know, like when you're going through half the crap I've been through, there were moments that it was I felt so alone that it was like, wow, right? So I figured if I'm
Hmm.
feeling, and really getting my book out there, but the first one, and things like that, I came across all these people that were having the same thing. And that's why I thought, well, why not make a platform and let everybody have their 15 minutes of fame? So
Hmm.
that's the whole premise of why I started this. And there was a reason why I was going with this, and now I don't remember what it was. It was just like right there. It's just like, what was it? There was something. It was a good thing, and now I don't. Oh my gosh, squirrel!
I,
Sorry,
you
guys.
know, I just saw the aliens in the background zap your brain. So like, you remember Men in Black? Did you ever see the
I saw
movie
Men
Men
in
in Black?
Black. Yes.
So I think you just got zapped. Like you just stumbled, your brain just stumbled into such extraordinary territory
We were
that the
talking.
government had to blank your mind for just a moment so you didn't stumble into that little area of brilliance.
Oh my gosh!
The
Like what?
government just stole your smartest idea ever, Dorothy. Those a-holes.
Oh right. Okay. So here's where I was going with this. Okay. So I figured if Joe Rogan can make $60 million on his
There you
podcast,
go. There you go.
$60 million a year, my friend,
Talk about it. Talk about
talking
it.
about smut and shit and sex and drugs and rock and roll, why can't
Hey, woo!
why can't our show do better? Right? Like why can't our show
All right.
make even
Hear
a
me.
third of that?
Do you want to know? Do you want to
Yes.
talk about it? Let's
Yes,
explore
let's
it.
talk
Do you?
about this.
What is our time limit? And let's let that be
We've got
our
another
primary.
15 minutes.
All right. Let's make this our kind of final thing then.
Okay, our
Because I
final
think
thing.
it's worthwhile of like, let's brainstorm for a moment and jump in, Carrie, or others, if you
Yes.
have like a take on how we should make more money. Um, but most importantly, like why his show is successful and ours isn't. Like, let's just get down to brass tacks. If you're going to compare your show to Joe Rogan's, let's break down that comparison, because I would tell you, as a facilitator of success, I hope roughly, is that I would never want you to think that that's your competition, because you're
Oh
going to be
gosh, no.
defeated before you ever walk out the door. So to think that Joe Rogan's $60 million is even remotely achievable in podcasting only, completely false narrative. That would be like you'd have to get struck by lightning, win a lottery, and get bit by a shark in the same day before you would potentially be able to hit a home run with RSS feed only, for instance, or your basic talk show. I mean, he doesn't do a basic talk show. So let's talk about some of the elements that are different between our shows and Joe's show. Have you watched enough to understand what they
Okay,
do?
so I tried to listen to his podcast.
Have you ever watched it on YouTube?
I have not watched it.
It's better. It's better when you can see them,
Yeah.
because they're humanized that way. It's
And
easier to
it's
dehumanize them.
4 hours though. And
Oh yeah, no,
seriously, I
it's
couldn't get
amazing.
past the 15 minutes that I was listening to it because all they talked about is BJ's.
It's definitely biased heavily towards men, and I would say that of all the things that I really don't, I mean, I don't watch Joe Rogan very much, but earlier in my creator career, I did follow him because I wanted to understand what he was doing. And I heard he was a good interviewer, and I watched some of his interviewers. And strictly as an interviewer, he is one of the best. That's why his show is better than ours, is because out of the gate, before he even has like a leg up, because he had money before he started his podcast, and he
And
was
he was
friends with Dave
very
Chappelle
upbeat.
before he started his podcast. He was friends with Bill Burr before he started his podcast. You know, he had all of the leverage in the world where we don't. But dude is also, I think he's honed his craft. And if you watch his interviews, he's facilitating a dialogue primarily with one other person like this for 3 to 4 hours. And it keeps most people entertained. You may not have liked it, but think about how many people he would have to be bringing in order to command that kind of money. Like, think about how good his engagement and downloads must be.
Right. And he's also been doing it for 10 years.
Yes. And the interesting part about Joe's show is it's probably a good comparison because it's a talk show. If you break down what this is, if you break down what a podcast usually is, if you break down what Joe does, it's a talk show. It's Oprah, but on YouTube, in my opinion. So I think when you assess yourself against those, just understand the water you're playing in and don't try to play in that water, because it's tough. You have to be a really good interviewer. I mean, I know really good interviewers because some of them taught me how to interview, and I'm very fortunate to have that knowledge. It's why I love asking questions. That's why I'm always in control, because I just love questions. So I keep people on their toes. But that's power, and he is very good at that. And he does it while he's getting baked. He makes them comfortable enough. So you think that it's smart, but he's also just allowing people to talk about what people talk about behind closed doors.
Exactly.
And so I think the fact that it brings it out into the light is actually very helpful, because for me, as kind of a studier of humans, it's good to know that those behaviors exist. And it's also good to see a 4-hour conversation with those humans too, because you get to know more than just whatever the effing headline is about them. I think that we all learned that Elon was maybe not as good of a guy as we thought he was on that show. I don't even remember why, but I do remember his reputation starting to take a hit after that. And then there's other people who have made their careers talking to him. So I don't know. I think there's different ways you can appreciate a show for its success.
Exactly. And kudos to him. But like you said, he was already successful before he started. And that's, that has definitely given him a leg up. But I'm thinking in terms of content, like here we are in terms of, I'm not going to say even
do you think our quality keeps up with his quality?
Well,
what do you guess?
From
like what our video quality?
Oh, his
what our
is
video
probably way more.
quality?
His is probably obviously way better. I mean, he's probably
How
got
about his
millions of
audio?
dollars of investment in it.
How about his audio?
I'm sure way better.
Yeah. Or I mean, right out of the gate.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. His equipment's way 1,000 times better than anything I have. I will give you
And he's
that.
got backups for when Indy's got help. He's got people that bring up links for him, people that engage, people that build his community, people that run promos.
Right.
And he just shows up and he's himself. And you don't have to love that to also kind of appreciate that he is doing what a lot of us would love to do, which is sit around and talk to cool people, smoke cigars, occasionally smoke some weed. Like, that's the dream, right? To like drink whiskey with cool guys. Like in his case, it's so heavily skewed towards men that it's really unfortunate that there's not a, that I'm aware of, there's not a competing force, although there's probably some people who are close. But I think it's cool, man. I don't have to love everything he agrees with, you know what I'm saying, to also appreciate that
Oh,
his
totally.
his his formatting is really what makes his show successful. He integrates links, he integrates their personal life because they know they're going to be exposed to drugs and cursey words. They immediately have to lower their guard a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
which is really good for interviewing to make people really uncomfortable. And like, as soon as you jar somebody, like immediately you have the edge on getting the best content. Like if I
Mm-hmm.
make you uncomfortable, I can get you to do anything I want on live.
Mm. True.
And he knows how to do that. And it's a very good skill to know as an interviewer, is to how to always harangue things back in your favor if you need to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had a lot of training in it. So maybe that's a good question. So ask me a question about like facilitation. I facilitated um, like high level hiring meetings with like CFOs, 4 CFOs. I've talked to multinationals. Johnson and Johnson was a client we worked with. I wasn't like fully responsible for that one, but I was fully
Oh, so that's why
responsible.
you said Johnson and Johnson.
Yeah. Um, I worked with manufacturing. This is when I was doing business consulting. So we did like organizational health reports. Like
Mm-hmm.
we tested the waters of how people felt towards the company, how the company felt towards the people, what sort of personality profiles they had. We basically took like a really big view on a human being and then
Right.
put it in teams and then put it in groups and departments and organizations and broke that down into an assessment of where we thought they should go next. It's basically like fine tuning, if you could imagine it like an engine. It's
Mm-hmm.
not the piecing of it together, although we did that too, and it's really fun. But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it was fine tuning existing engines. So if you have any questions on like supercharging a type of company, that's something I'm pretty comfortable with. So sling them
Awesome.
my way.
I will. Yeah. So what do you think people are actually looking for when people are tuning in to a podcast or a show or something like that?
To be entertained. That's what I've learned. I don't think we should overthink it sometimes. I think whatever the type of viewer is that you're entertaining, it still remains true that it needs to be entertaining to that person. Because if
Right.
it becomes no longer worth their time, then that. So I would say, keep in mind that your audience is you. And so if you are the kind of person who gets bored with white noise, if you're the kind of person who gets bored watching people have a Zoom meeting, if you're the kind of person, like if you like Tom Cruise and Mission Impossible, this is not your speed probably. So I
Mm-hmm.
think knowing the type of setting that you're in is really important. Jimmy's taught me that, right? Mr. Beast. But it's also, it makes sense. If we watch a movie we don't like because it's not the quality that we expect, we would walk out.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so if people are paying for a product, whether that be a sponsorship with your show or for a Patreon account or for whatever you're trying to, sell,
Mm-hmm.
um, you got to really, work early to provide good quality stuff, and it's unlikely that your content is going to be that thing that's high quality early on. So you have to be a very high quality business person, whether you're podcasting or YouTubing or actually starting a business. The best thing you can be is a good business person, not a good content creator. Your content is your vehicle, not your focus, because you'll never, like the likelihood of you making a lot of money on content unless you have an in is so unlikely. That's why I was so interested in becoming friends with that group of people in YouTube, is because I thought, God, what a great side stream, but it's never going to make me my revenue. I will never count on ad revenue and my media sources to pay my bills. I hope they pay for themselves and provide a wonderful service to the world, and that
Mhm.
hopefully I can make enough money to continue reinvesting. I want to make a lot of money with my consulting services. I want to make a lot of money building shows for people. I want to make a lot of money brainstorming with people, because I love that. I love making businesses and shows and I love creating stuff. So I want to make money creating stuff, and everything else I basically want to give away. But
But that's why he is friends with me, because I'm going to teach him how not to give your stuff away for free. Because we don't want any more broke creators.
so how would you tell me to prepare for our next lesson as we get ready to wrap?
As we
So
get ready to
client
wrap,
coach client me a little bit here, because I want you to flex on me a little bit. Flex on the people to what should I do my homework on? What should I be doing between now and the next time we talk, whenever that is, to help me be better at that?
first of all, I want you to write a list of your weaknesses and a list of your
Okay.
strengths.
Okay.
And then we're going to find out, like what is your biggest block, and asking for the money, asking for that client to say, hey, this is the product that you should get into.
How does the strengths and weaknesses pull me back to there?
So,
What's
so
this?
your strength in your business and your weaknesses in your business. And I know, well, from what
Oh, in
we
the business. That
in the
makes sense. I'm
business,
with you.
yes, and
I
in
got
the
you.
business. And so then we're going to say, okay, so what is it that's going inside of you that's like, wait a minute, I can't ask for money for that.
Yeah. I mean, the truth is, I know a lot of the answers. We can talk about it sometime. That's why I want homework, because I need to get better at it. But I know a lot of my hangups with it is because I make friends with people like you, and I don't want to ask you for money. Like, that's what happens is you meet creators that you like who are equally as hustling as you, and you don't want to ask them for money. And so I'm not like constipated about the issue. I would say the phase I'm at with my understanding of it is that now I'm actually in a position to meet people who will willingly not be my friends, because they're like more elite
Right,
business people, let's
right,
say, or entertainment people. So they're not going to be interested in like the lovey dovey. They're transactional humans. So it's actually a really good environment to try to operate in. And I'm sort of building up some muscle and excitement, but also some confidence around getting ready for that transition to not be friends with everybody and to also be ready to be transactional with people.
right. and
Um,
and
so,
get that list. I know last time we talked, you were getting a list together of your products and services, so that this
oh,
is the year of collaboration,
it's
right, everybody,
it's
like,
close. Yeah,
seriously.
yeah.
So having that list ready, so when you are talking to somebody like me who networks like crazy, you can say, hey, okay, boom. And that's how affiliate marketing is born, friends.
Yeah, it is. And when it's with your friends, it makes it even easier, because like for us, for you and I feel like we could probably ad swap with each other and just call it good, or we could talk about what it would look like.
Mhm.
And when it comes to things like you're talking about and cross promoting each other, that's the best thing we can do for creators, is not look at each other as competition. Everything has got to be an opportunity for you to lift the other person and then ask that person to lift you back. Like, tell that person hard things and then ask that person to say hard things back to you, because then you can raise the level of not the industry, because the multinationals will always set that pace with
Right.
technology. But I think what you can do is provide a way better, more personalized, more human, more creative, more on top of things when it comes to people stuff. And so that will be your strength as you go forward. So,
Yeah.
like, just keep throwing down on human things is really like the advice of 2023. Like you said, collaboration. Don't look at people as look at them as connections.
Mhm. Connections, yes. Well, and yeah, that's all. Connections. And I when I was doing my meditation and brainstorming when this year first started, definitely the word that I kept on getting was collaboration. We can go further together. Totally, 100%, you know. And sometimes I can talk all day about you and have a hard time talking about myself. But, you know, and so it's easier for me to say, hey, you know, there's this amazing creator out there in California that I think you should meet, and you know, and things like that. So, you know, and same with you. Like I had no idea that you were, since you were on our show, that you said that you had an idea for me, and I was like, okay, I didn't even know you thought of me after the show, really. So
Yeah, it's definitely a communication thing I need to get better at. When I meet people, my instinct is that I want to serve. Like I want to find a way to collaborate. And I know that the only way for me to do that early in my game is to exchange or offer something that's so valuable that another human is willing to pay me money for. And that's a high threshold when
mhm.
finances are tight. So I
Yes,
really appreciate everything that you do for me, everything you've done for my friends and bringing them into our world, even though it's like hobbled a little bit occasionally, but that's okay. It's like,
it's
that's the
okay.
nature of the beast. It's been like a month. So
Yes,
I'm
exactly.
super duper stoked about everything that's going well for you with your streaming channel and everything that we're going to create that's going to be nuts together. You still need to
Absolutely.
get for your big product ready for whenever we talk next. I want to know like your biggest ticket item, the full Dorothy package. But I think you're doing a great job and you help people the right way, and the whole world is indebted to your media coverage. So your content, when you want to compare yourself to the big dogs, it's not the content of your character that it is, but maybe like how you do it, but it's
Mhm.
not the message. So keep going. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Trevor, and thank you to all of our guests in the comments for joining us tonight. And one last sponsorship here. Don't forget the second annual Don Gray Memorial Fun Classic, August 19th. We are still looking for golfers, and we are still looking for whole sponsors, prize sponsors, and our title sponsor, of course. So if you are interested, if you know of anybody who is either a cancer patient, has gone through cancer, died of cancer, or you are a caregiver for somebody of cancer, and you would really love to be part of this, we would love to have you. It is in Tilbury, Ontario. Again, little hick town on the speck of the map, but we are putting Tilbury on the map. And all proceeds will go to the Chatham Kent Peer Cancer Support Group, of which I do occasionally go to those events as well. So it's a great way for anybody who's in the cancer space to really get the help that they need and just be there for each other. So with that,
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you for doing that stuff. It
well,
means a
thank you.
lot to people. I know it does. Um,
Yeah,
thank you.
it's my pleasure. You know, I've lost several people to cancer, my dad being the last one, and it sucks. It's a disease that needs to die itself. And, you know, this is our second year. Maybe by our fourth or fifth year, we can have a cure and pay for the damn cure. That would be amazing, right? And then we'd have people like Big Pharma on our ass. But, anyways, that's a whole other story.
Can I poke a quick thing your way just as
Sure,
a transfer of knowledge, and it might as well be live? So,
sure.
transfer of knowledge related to your golf tourney and the money because it's important. Are you aware of what just happened in golf? Like, are you a sports follower enough to know that golf just got bought by the Saudi Arabian government or something?
No, I did not know that. I just know that a Canadian actually won the tournament for the first time in 70 some odd years.
Very nice, Canada. Way to step up to the green.
Pun intended.
Um, punt intended. So, punt intended. Pat McAfee is the best sports show in the whole world. I have a couple sports shows that I like because of their format as much as their content. So Pat McAfee, if you are trying to become a top-notch talk show, watch Pat McAfee. If you don't like football, that's your business. But in terms of the structure and the makeup and the outline and the fun and the natural, it's got cursey words. They talk about hard stuff, but they're really, really good dudes and they do content well. And they set a really high bar for what we need to build as their competition. Not that they would be our competition, but they just reset the standard with how they do it, kind of like Rogan did before. They're better than Rogan by a long shot in terms of their format. So check them out. But I learned that the Saudi government, they have a lot of oil money. So they have an immense amount of money. And this is quote from Pat McAfee show, allegedly. Allegedly, they got bored with buying yachts and sex and drugs and Ferraris. So they decided to buy athletes, and they decided to buy the best American athletes that they could do and also geopolitically have it work out. So they picked the sport that had the most holes in its model, which is golf. Mm-hmm. So they created a separate golf league. They paid some of the players, 15 times what they were getting from the PGA. Like mounds of many, many, many millions of dollars, where the PGA is like notorious for underpaying. Mm-hmm. And so they just paid people money. And there was like all this controversy around it. And what ended up happening is the government, or the people that represented their side, paid like $10 billion or $1 billion or some obscene number to buy or to collaborate. I don't know what the relationship is, but basically to take over the entire golf market.
Right. Wow.
And the relevance to you is that there's a lot of change. So anytime you see an industry that's in flux, it's an opportunity for you as a business person to get involved in it, because people are running around wondering what to do. And you can come in as an outsider with whatever expertise you have and provide some foundation for them while they're going through a lot of chaos. It's an opportunity to make a really good connection that otherwise you'd miss, because they'd be so caught up in process and red tape and procedure. So anytime you see a market that seems like it's going like this, jump into it. And that would be one that right now is the golf market, because of what's going on. So you should start potentially even a damn show dedicated to this memorial, because it potentially would get more hits. Like, I think you'd get good watches. I think if you dug into the story a little bit, we could probably find some people that have money, because now all these golfers are getting an injection of money they never had before. It's a great time to make business partners in golf, I think, right now, from a financial standpoint. I don't know if ethically it's the right thing, because I don't know enough about what's going on beyond the borders, but I thank you for letting me tell the story. But I want you to know that I think that you might be in a good place with your golf tournament if we can get you in touch with the right people, because they're throwing money around right now. Like, the Saudi government might fund your whole thing. Who knows? The Saudi government.
Give me a DM.
Watch this. The Saudi government funds a Canadian who dedicates her time to American veterans. What a story. You just need a Pakistani translator for the whole gig.
Yes, Trevor is involved with the fact that I help American veterans. Like, he is like,
I think it's amazing.
He's just like, I can't believe it. Like, mind blown that I help American veterans.
I just think it's super cool that you saw it. It's what makes you a good entrepreneur, if you keep that edge. But it's hard to keep that edge. So keep that edge, because when you saw the opportunity, you just went for it. It's not like you set out to. We've talked about it. You didn't set out to do that necessarily. It just happened. Yeah. So being able to recognize opportunity and commit to it's a big deal as an entrepreneur. So keep on doing it. But I think that golf and money, baby, like go get you some dirty oil money. Somebody's gonna get it. Why not Dorothy? That's your question about the Joe Rogan shit, is you have to be willing to ask for the dirty money early on, potentially, and know where your boundaries are. At least know where your boundaries are and set them. Mm-hmm. And if it's enough money, I don't know. Your veterans, you might want to talk to your veterans before you got heavily involved in that, just as a consideration. Mm-hmm. But I think it would be worth looking into having a golf partner for your golf event, even if it's like a AAA, low-level, local, regional golfer. I bet that there's more money there right now. So find you a couple of golfers. Maybe we could put together a golf team, dude.
There we go.
Like people in different regions, we could just like try to find, not like run somebody dry. Like we could look in the Northeast and the Centrals and wherever you want to look.
Well, anybody who wants to come to Tilbury, Ontario is more than welcome. We would love to have you.
No, we need to get a partner,
Well, yeah,
a golf partner.
Yeah.
No, to like come on a screen with you and promote it.
Well, yes, and my Roku
And golf.
guy actually makes golf clubs
Oh.
made golf clubs for the PGA.
Are we taking advantage of this connection yet?
I am on
Get after it.
talks with the guy. Yes.
If you want me there to negotiate, I am not. I will get them. So you just let me know if you need a hand, because that is fun for me.
Perfect.
But thanks for letting me go overtime. Everybody should support you if they're watching this in the future for any reason. At least research what Dorothy does. Make a decision for yourself. But I'm here to endorse what Dorothy does, which is help people, and focuses enough on herself to get by, which is what we should all do. And she has great stories of how she does that, and she shares it, and she's vulnerable, and she helps U.S. veterans like a weirdo, and she's going to help Canadian veterans as soon as somebody gives her enough fucking money to do it. So, like, I don't have any, but let's get Dorothy some fucking money so she can support her home troops too, you know?
Amen. Amen to
thank
that.
you for all that you do. Clap to you. I don't have my coffee mug anymore. I left it outside, but cheers to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my friend. And thank you so much for your endorsement. That means a lot. And guys, thank you for joining us, and be unstoppable in all that you do. And same time, same channel next week. Bye for now.